by the topic itself, how to compromise. So where to start? Let's just say that what is stress? I know most of you guys out there, the word stress is common, familiar with the words, and you actually feels it because stress as well as depressions and anxiety, those are real. Okay, and as for the living beings, we need to know that the stress is considered as normal, and to which level stress is considered as abnormal, you know. And then I would say that all this while we've been giving so-called negative connotations to stress. Whenever people says that I'm having stress, I don't know what are the coping mechanism for stress. And my questions perhaps to everyone who came to me or to counselors, uh, they would like to know what are the symptoms that you are having actually. No, it's not easy. It is quite easy of saying that I'm having stress, but do people actually know what stress is all about? First thing first is um, stress is a reflection. You know, it's a reflection what we experience, and some would say it is the psychological reactions of someone situation. You know, and when we say it's a reflection, it's obviously the symptoms come from within. You know, it's been expressed out physically, and it can be expressed out through our routines. You know, and some part of our routines we are unable to deal with. That is basic ideas and basic understanding of about stress. Huh? Enjoy.
Okay, Doctor, thank you for the great sharing session just now. So basically, what you are saying, you were explaining the underlying principle of stress on, but from my perspective, I can totally see most people portrays stress as a negative, totally negative things. But to me, there are many types of stress, and that includes constructive and destructive stress.
Probably what you are saying is, from your understanding, it might be from those two perspectives. You know, that you have to know that stress do have its pro and cons, the advantage and disadvantage. This is what we call as a eustress and distress. Eustress is
Okay.
something good, okay, while distress is something I wouldn't say bad, but then yeah, okay, that's what you meant by disruptive. Okay, so eustress is a good stress actually. Okay, so distress is a bad stress. So you need eustress actually in life. You know, as I mentioned earlier, that as a living being, we need something, a force to move on. And that is what we
Okay,
call as
doctor.
eustress.
Are there any some sort of fine line to that separate this eustress and distress from your take?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, let's take for example, now you're having a final exam, okay, and everyone's saying that, oh, I'm stressed. Actually, you know, this final exam, a lot of preparation, now a lot of assignments need to submit before the final exam, you know, kind of thing. So you need this kind of stress in order for you to actually, you know, study. If you
Correct.
don't feel this kind of stress, you know, I don't think you'll be looking forward for study. I mean, like, these are the form of triggers actually that drive you to actually open up your books and actually do some readings. You know, it's just like about
Okay.
living, for example. You know, that you need to earn some income and you need to look for work, a job. You know, for your earning. So you need this kind of stress. Okay, to actually to identify what is stress and to differentiate between stress, depression, and anxiety. Stress is normally being triggered by the current situation. So that's why I was saying about the final exam itself.
All right.
Okay,
Uh,
so that is
okay. To me, I do agree with you on that. Like, uh, of course I can relate because I'm a student and it's now like week 14 and most students are on the verge of collapsing because it's like, like so many lecturers and will assign so many tasks at the end of the semester, and they most of the due that I'm receiving so far will be having on the same exact week. So
Mm.
be it like it doesn't matter if it's like physical or online, it's the same to me. The pack is still there. Even during the night, I still have to contact with my friend through Google Meets. From like from 8 to like 3 a.m. sometimes just to finish our group project. And sometimes to me, this academic stress that we're like experiencing, to me, some students will take it as just to get the job done. But sometimes people that really like have effort to get the job done with a good quality work, uh, the amount of stress that they're experiencing, like sometimes even if the particular group have like free rider in it, the amount of stress is I cannot tell. I have experienced such thing, and to me, I have experienced those pressure
Yeah,
even in my
it's common. It's
Mm.
common actually. Okay, why did I say it's common? Now put it this way, Uh, let me just put it in two separate things. Okay, and the breaking point here is exam. Yeah. So before the exam itself, the final exam, you know,
Okay,
how many exam have you gone through in life
I would
as a
say
student?
as countless.
Still, yeah, countless, obviously. Okay, and this thing seems to be, over and over again. The situation is over and over again. Since you were standard one, for example, it was damn tough, difficult during that time, right?
Yeah.
And exam is just not the word that we are looking for in life. Exam is something that we try to avoid in life, you know. But how would you assess yourself? How would you evaluate yourself if there is no exam? That is before the exam itself. Okay,
Okay.
and the post exam things is actually like the situations that you're having now, all the problems that you're having now. It's like that is the role of university in preparing students. What you're doing now here is actually the role of university as a training ground for you students for your later life in work, in
I
career
agree with
life.
that.
Just imagine one day, when you are working, when you were given tasks in a team, for example, the same problems occurs. So if you know how to deal with things right now, it can actually, that's what I'm saying, it is a training ground. It prepares you for the possible or the probable situations that's gonna be repeat itself when you're working in later life.
Okay.
Okay?
Uh,
So so
I'm
you see
like
the never
I
thought
would
of it.
say I'm partially agree with your narrative in that, because to me,
Okay.
when entering to UTM in my first year, I think everything is all about academic achievement. I need to get like good pointer, so everything is based on exam oriented. So those are the things that drives me to my to the point where I felt so occupied with so many things. Even during the study week, I feel so stressed with so many stuff I have yet to cover. But at the end, in the end, I did not reach my standard because we use with exam oriented based assessment. So when I was in matriculation, even when I was in SPM, so getting like good grade, getting like good pointer is whatever that matters. But entering in the university life, I believe there's just like you said,
Okay.
the role of university is to prepare us
I,
in the later life, in the work life.
yes, I
So I think
agree.
there's
I
more
agree.
to that.
I agree. I just put the situation like chapters in life. Okay.
Okay,
Do you read novels?
not exactly.
Okay. Well, never mind. When we read novel, for example, we really look forward for the chapters.
Yeah.
How the chapter starts. The first thing in the chapters is always starts about how to attract the readers. Okay,
Yeah.
and you have the climate, the climate, sorry, the climax part in the chapters, and towards the end of the chapters itself, it's kind of like giving an idea about the next chapters in life, you
Okay.
know. So you've been through like primary school, you've been through secondary school, you've been through like tertiary. Now you are in tertiary levels. You know, each have its own thrills and challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have actually been prepared in getting into new chapters, in getting new level. Now, if you play games, level 1 and level 10, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, it become difficult, it become tougher.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you are not in this life. Actually, there's no such thing happens drastically. It is impossible things happen drastically. Even someone who pass away, even someone who are dying, they actually have some symptoms. It's something like preparing you for that situation. And that what happens in education setting. When you were in standard one, you were actually starts with ABC and 1, 2, 3. But look at you now. Back then it was so damn difficult, the ABC, to memorize the ABC, and most people just memorize. But then later
Okay.
on, you know, but later on, well, I don't think this become rehearsal. This now become live.
It's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
okay.
Let's just
Uh,
proceed.
so because we got the momentums already.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can. I'm listening.
okay. So back then there was so difficult in memorizing ABC and 1, 2, 3, and then all these phonetic things, kind of thing. And later on, once you pass the ABC, either you memorize it or whether you understand it, then you start reading, you know,
Okay.
and then you start writing. And as for the numericals part, you start doing your what do you call that? That's the CFA.
Okay.
Things, mathematics, things become difficult in life. Things become tougher, and all those things are actually, this is what we call in Islam was actually, we've been called al-insan, means that forgetful. That is our nature. We always forgot about things that we've gone through in life, in which those experiences that help us, either those experiences had built up our skills, or those experiences had helped us in establishing a new us, a new me in later life. So all these things, if you look into our topic today, stress is actually drive people over and over again. That's what Ibn Khaldun
But
say. Ibn
you're
Khaldun
correct
says
in
that
that.
human move in cycle. You know,
Uh,
so
but
that is
you
why
said
for
stress
non-living
drives
things,
people,
mm,
but then we don't know in which direction it drives us.
yes. So you are the one that drive to which to which uh let's say for example, for the non-living thing, you need a force. You know,
True.
in physics, the equations for
Yeah.
force, right?
Equal
You
to
know,
MA.
so as for living being, we have certain forces that drive us, and stress is actually one of the force. Okay, let's say for example, if you're hungry, that cause you, look for food, for example.
Yeah.
And in the process itself, you become so stressed about it, you know. So you're not sure. Okay, I'm hungry now. I don't know what to eat, and then you start stress because that's the most stressful conditions. No, sorry, the most stressful question is where to eat, what to eat. If
Well,
somebody
that's
was to
relatable.
ask you
By far.
recently, if I were to say, okay, Nazrul, I want to treat you today for the lunch. Okay, fine, good, great, blah blah blah, and then I simply ask you where to eat, and you was like, that's the difficult part, and that's the difficult
That's
question.
the most okay.
It becomes
Uh,
stress, man. Come on. Okay, according to Freud, the most stressful conditions in life is actually, when the most stressful conditions in life is actually when a mother are giving birth and when we are actually being delivered. That is the most stressful condition for both.
Okay.
Okay, so what we've gone through these days as we grow up, nothing compared to that kind of situation actually. Okay.
Okay. Uh,
So the thing is, in understanding stress, in coping with stress, I know I've been in your conditions before. I've been there. I was a teenager before. Obviously, I'm not simply, all of a sudden I'm here. No, I went through that situation. That's why most people say in the development part of human beings, the stressful condition is actually in growing up. In each stage of human development, it has its own stressful condition. But these stressful conditions can be overcome through maturity. And once you pass through that stressful condition, you become more matured. It's just like when you're driving, okay? In going
okay.
through one path, that is a stressful condition. But then when you look back at your side mirror or your rear mirror, you actually,
Yeah.
oh, I've passed through that stage. And I'm proudly say I've passed it. Whether I passed it smoothly or I passed it with a big challenges, I managed through.
Well,
So
you explained earlier about life. I mean, life is a long life process. One way or another, we're like still learning.
yeah,
And I wanna mention one of the things that you mentioned earlier about
mm,
the support system. What is your take
yeah.
on that?
Well, support system. Most people are looking for support system. They actually forget that if you can't find a support system, create one, build one, initiate one. Why should you be waiting for others? Have you heard that the more you give, the more you earn?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So when it comes to support system, when you wait for other people, you're not doing anything except for wasting your time and you make things worse for yourself.
Okay.
You know, look for support system or actually create your own support system. It's just like, are you waiting for opportunity or are you creating opportunity?
All right.
Most thing in life, when you wait, actually, it is the stressful part. Actually, that's why when you are about to go for your final exam and you sit there not doing anything, it's a stressful thing.
I mean, the paper's not gonna write on its own.
When you have assignments and you're not doing the assignments, you're actually procrastinating it. So what happens? Now, lecturers are giving the assignments at the earliest semester, and you should be submitting it towards the end of the semesters, right?
Correct.
So you have like what, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 13 weeks to do that assignment. So
Because
you're actually, these are the things, that's what I say about stress. You know, for me, with the 22 years, almost 23 years experience in this area, most of the days, the client came to me when I talk about stress. When I told them, I come into a conclusion that stress is actually an option. You know, despite that there is a normal, what do you call that, a normal cycle in life, it actually, it actually goes by options for the people to actually accept or not to accept the stress. Because as I mentioned earlier, stress is a normal condition for an individual as a living being. Okay, and
okay,
unfortunately, when a students procrastinate or actually keep things behind and going through their life for the 13 week, and all of a sudden towards a few days before the submission date, and then you start doing it, is the stress actually happens or are you creating the stress situations?
I see what you're trying to imply.
So you see, you know, but nevertheless, okay, but nevertheless, stress is real. Okay, this is what we are talking about. When stress is considered as a clinical situation, stress is real.
Okay.
The problem with stress is actually the coping mechanism and how do you manage about this situation.
Speaking of coping mechanism, I know like academic pressure is one thing. Another thing is like since we're doing this, the remote study, the online study that we're doing right now, most people will experience not only the pressure that's coming out of the academic pressure, but also the emotional
Right.
volatileness because of many of the things that they have to cope. Like when I was on my previous semester, like I literally just woke up just to scan my attendance that I will go back to sleep. And honestly, I felt bad. But this semester, I can assure you, I have started to organize things in a much more better way, and I can all my I arrange all my schedule to be at exact 8 o'clock sharp every day, so that I can
You
wake
know
up
why?
early and
You know why?
yeah,
I love to talk about cycle of life actually. You know, I love to talk about nature of human being. When new things happen, when new things strike, the pandemic is something new, right?
yeah,
Okay. Now online classes is new, right?
again, yes,
So see, for humans, when new things happen in life, there are three phases that happen without you realizing it. Okay, the first phase is actually adjustment. The second phase is coping, and the third phase adaptation. Now, most problems happens in the stage of or the phase of adjustment. We don't know what to expect. That's why during the pandemic itself, we can see the inclinations of depression and anxiety are increasing, not
correct,
stress. Okay, because they don't know how they are in the process of learning how to actually adjust. Now, you are going for your second semester in online classes, right?
yes,
During first semester, in our experience, in our records in counseling center, and when I had some discussion with my fellow colleagues in other institutions, it seems that everybody is going haywire. Not only students, but also to lecturers, because they don't know how to, they try to maneuver themselves with the technology, in which students are more advanced in terms of technology compared to them. The seniors lecturers are also having problems,
yeah,
and even they have to learn. They have been taught by their probably the secondary what do you call that the children. I mean the children in the secondary school. So you see how actually humans are adapting. Actually, can see that we are actually adapting. Now you are in the process of you've done the coping stage actually. Now it's the process when you say that, oh, I started to plan my day, my class, about attending class. It happens to everyone, not only students, because these things had, we experience these situations almost at all level of what do you call that societies actually. Okay, but obviously from your perspective as a student, that's why I'm saying that, yeah, with the first semester it's been hairwired by everyone. Even my wife, she's a lecturer. She's also having problems because she previously she's not actually a gadget savvy. You know, documenting, doing offline videos for students, preparing
okay,
all the kind. And teachers are having problems too. You know, so the first stage is adjustment. Hits everyone, and this is where the problem, most of the problems come in. It's a stressful condition. Okay, so the coping part, what are the coping phase? And the coping phase is where everyone start knowing about, this is the flaw, this is where I can improvise, in order for me to suit myself with the situation. Okay, so later on when they know the coping mechanism, the coping stage itself, that is where we can actually say, now I'm adapting into it. That's why in this kind of situation, the PKP 2.0, the MCO 2.0, most of people, they are start to adapt to it. We had the first few months of the MCO last year was totally haywire for everyone. Everybody is running here and there. You know what to expect. That's why anxiety happened. Everybody feel insecure. What to expect? Would this pandemic be only a year, or would this
yeah,
pandemic be prolonged? Okay, so as for students, you know, that's why recently we found out that students for us for the sections normally it's no longer about adaptation and no longer about adjustment. Now, in order to adapt, you know, but
Correct.
somehow when we talk about study, exam is one of assessment. You can't actually
Okay.
go to a semester without having some of assessment, right? So lecturers are also looking into a new perspective or new way in giving such assessments to students. You know, so these are kind of things. You know, that's why I think like, you know, hey, stress, let's compromise. You know, you do your part, I do my part, kind of things.
Okay. I do agree with you. I mean, the lecturer is also try to adapt with the new remote study, but uh, you mentioned yourself earlier about the stress itself is a driving force, and there are like some lecturers that are still giving the amount of workload that they give to the students, and plus with the students difficulty on access of the internet and all that, and I think those are few of the point that contributes to the to this stress. How about that?
Okay, good questions. I really love to answer these questions actually. Now, when we see when problems come in, you know, we have this powerful tool with us. You know, we have a powerful tool with us. What are the powerful tool that we have? Our mind. Okay, when problems come in, now human being, we have the instinct to survive, instinct to evolve. That's why recently, you know, I saw this one. I would say it's a parody. Okay, just imagine if the pandemic hit us somewhere around early 2000 or late 90s. You know, during back then, the technology of communications. You know, I was in that era before. You know, when
Yeah.
I was a student, I was in that era. You know, what we have is actually Nokia 3310, and the only games that we have inside there is Snake. Can you imagine yourself being in my place during that time? And if the technology is still there, you know, no, I used to
Uh,
write letters to my wife back then, you know. So now means that when we have the instinct of surviving, we are looking for a better way to survive. We are looking a better way in involving ourselves. The same goes to academic. Okay. Now, if you see, let's say for example, in your situation, at what age you had your first cell phone?
Come again?
At what age do you have your first handphone?
I was during in my I was in my standard one. I get
Standard one. You see, you know, I I still remember I was at the like what 28 or 29 when I had my first smartphone. Okay,
okay.
so catching up with technology wasn't easy for me, and as a matter of fact, for everyone. So when you
Just
grow,
like you said, our
yeah,
eras were different. Like rather we
exactly,
have like easy access, like everything is in the tip of our hands. But
yeah.
to me, this
Okay,
thing also
the
create
thing is,
chaos with the stigma of mental health.
okay, the thing is, what I'm about to say is, during online classes, you know, the interactions between lecturers and students must exist somehow or other, in which the lecturers are providing the knowledge, whereby the students are actually helping the lecturers in making the class lively, in making the inputs easier for them and for both actually. That's why some students suggest the lecturers, doctors, can we do like this? Can we actually do like this? Can we do the assignments in this form kind of things? But if the interactions doesn't happen, if the student doesn't communicate with lecturers and let the lecturers decide by his own, you probably, you know, having an advanced technology, But with a apa orang kata, with a traditional method, this is where the clash comes in, and that triggers stress among students. And again, it
Yes.
stress among lecturers. So you are not connecting. Not connecting is one of the factors that cause stress. It's just like chicken and duck are trying to talk together. So you have to, because the gaps, the generation gaps exist, happens during this time. Okay, so uh, talking about the whole situation, brought or leads to stressful conditions. That's what I was saying. You know, actually, stress is something that you earlier I did told about I did mention about things doesn't happen drastically in life, right? So uh, the preparations for the class, you know, is crucial for both students and lecturers. Okay, so just
Yeah.
imagine for a while. Um, Going for a class is just like going for a war. Okay, just imagine that going for a class is just like going for a war. What would you need to go for a war?
Yeah.
What do you need to go for a war? Obviously, you would bring along stress, because stress would actually put you in in a situation where you need to be alert. This
Yeah.
is what I meant about eustress. You know, probably I don't talk much about distress. Because these are what people look. These are what people view actually about stress previously. But let's just talk about stress. When we talk about today's topic, is actually we are looking into the perspective of eustress. Okay, and we cannot neglect the fact that what are the factors in which we call as a stressful, the things that contributes to stressful condition. Okay,
Understood.
as
Yeah.
for students, exam is one thing, assignments is one thing, adapting into online is one thing, dealing with lecturers attitudes is also one thing. Don't tell me that
Yeah.
it's not one of the factors. you know dealing with lecturers is a big contributor here, that cause students to be stressed. Well, it's vice versa. Students are the contributors for lecturers stress too. Well, never mind, just let focus on the students itself as for tonight, inshallah. Okay.
Okay. Um, to me, in terms of coping mechanism, when I get stressed,
Mm,
I don't know about everyone, but to me, I love to play instruments, and I think sometimes I resonate music with my emotion. Like I have some sort of emotional attachment to music because it's what I love to do, to play music. So, what do you
mm.
think a better approach for us to relieve our stress?
You need that. Okay, Azul. You see, when dealing with stress, everyone have to know what would be their best way in dealing or channel their stress. Some will go for sport, some will go for music, some would go for some entertainment, some would go for gardening. But the individual itself must have at least. That's why if you go to psychiatrists, for example, normally this kind of situations, the almost the first thing that the psychiatrist would ask you is actually, do you have hobbies? Because
Me,
normally people who are having depressions or stress, they have the tendency of not, lost interest, all these things. And as to severe part, those who are having depressions almost lost their interest. Okay, so if you do love music, for example, and you use music is a form of your so-called therapy, self-therapy, or your releaser, go, by any means, go. And you can actually use this as an advantage. Let's say, for example, while you are studying, you know it helps you in memorizing something, the facts from your from your subject, for example, put it in the form of lyric, you know
correct?
so this will enhance your memory about the subject. No, rather than, if like, let's say, for example, some people know that They are sportsmen, for example. But then when they are having stress, they are not doing things like they're not doing any sport. Let's say as simple as going for a job, for example. They're not doing this thing. They're doing something else. So in other words, they are triggering the stress, the stressor itself. So how would you manage your stress if you know that you are doing something that is just not you? Okay? So
Okay.
most people don't listen to others. This is another problem. Now, in dealing with stress, first thing first, you must be able to understand yourself. You can't
Uh,
simply, you can't
Doctor,
simply,
we actually have like one question from this from Facebook. Muhammad
sure.
Azam said, Doctor, I have a question. What can us students who has anxiety problem do to reduce stress? Because I find it hard to learn via online class, and I'm more accustomed to kinesthetic learning, and I'm already having problems in tests. This
Okay.
is what we addressed earlier.
Good question, Azam. Now we see if you can just pin the question there so I can find a few keywords for the questions. Now, having anxiety, I did mention earlier, we have this one test, or what we call as depression anxiety stress scale, or in short, DAS test. Okay, we want to see whether individual are having what we call it, depression, stress, or anxiety. These are the standard mental health what we call it, saringan um, of KKM, Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Okay, so depression was caused by past experiences. Stress is caused by the or triggered by the current situations. As I mentioned earlier, now in the state of final exam, these are what caused the problem. Okay, or what the situation is. And anxiety is something that caused or triggered by futures factors. Okay. So when Azam says that we're having anxiety, the keyword is actually uncertainty or insecurity. And most students are having these kind of situations. You know, even your professors do have this problem when they were when they were students before. That's why students are looking forward before their final exam. They will meet their lecturers and ask about their carry marks, just to do some projection. Will they score the subject or not? Okay, so you are being so anxious because you don't know to which level would you prepare yourself for the final exam. If you can see those people who are having high score for their carry marks, you know, they would probably like, oh, they would put some leisure to themselves in studying for the final exam. As for those who are having low carry marks, they would really, put in the situations, hard situations in scoring the subject. Okay. Now, on the second part of the question, he is more on kinesthetics. Now, to cut short about the questions, in answering the question, the individual must be able in a simple for study. You must study the way you study, then you can study. If you are a visualized person, obviously you can't study by using strategy of kinesthetic or audio. Okay, so getting the right you on the right strategy of study would put you actually to be a score person. Now let me just give you an example. I don't like to read. Okay, when I was a student, I don't like to read. And psychology is a subject whereby you have to read a lot of theories about human and personality. Okay, so I have to find a different way, a different strategy in study. Okay, so if you think that he's more kinesthetic in the form of learning, so you need the way that kind of thing. That's why you can see those people who are very good in their study by looking into they're doing some what do you call that, mind mapping. They're playing with colors because they are
Correct.
easily memorized by that. People, they don't actually study, they don't actually read. They just sit around whenever there are people who are having discussion, they'll be there sitting and listening. That's why, as a strategy in study, for most students, I would recommend study the way you study, then you can study. Secondly, you must be able to understand your own physiology before you can actually study. Let's say, for example, if you are not type of person, a morning person, and you force yourself to study early in the morning, do you think that you can actually study? Do you think that you can actually pick up those things in your subject? I don't think so. This is why students are having problems in attending classes in the morning, because they are not a morning person. They are probably evening person. So you have to substitute. When it comes to study, you need to substitute. You must have your own strategy. You must have your own style. This is one way of managing because if you are becoming not you, this is where you started to rebel. Your body start to rebel. You're not a morning person, and then you force yourself to study in the morning. Obviously, you can't study.
Yeah.
Or even probably if you look at if you see, let's say for example, you see your roommate, he actually scored the subject, and then the way he study is actually like study in the middle of the night, and then you start studying in the middle of the night. Not even 10 o'clock, you start being sleepy. So this is what I say. It's about you can actually look into how people study, but in order to find your own way, you have to find your own study style, and where your physiology can actually adapt to it. Even though you are at university level, doesn't mean that the way you study when you were in standard in form 5 doesn't work. No, you can actually study. That during your form 5 you score your SPM by study the way you study during that time. Now what you have to do is actually advance the way you study back then. So humans would have problems when they are trying to become not themselves. When they try to adjust their personality, when they try to adjust the physiology, yes, this is where the problems will always be there. So compromise yourself. Like telling yourself, okay, I'm gonna have 2 weeks. In 2 weeks time, I'm gonna have final exam. Okay, be good to me. Obviously you're saying to yourself, be good to me. Means that within that 2 weeks time, focus yourself. And not to forget, after the final exam, please reward yourself. If you don't have enough sleep, if you don't have enough rest during the final exam, once you've done your paper, once you've done your final exam, give your body its right. That is to reward it by going for a movie ke, by playing games ke, by playing some musical instruments ke. Okay?
Right.
No harm about it. It's your life. You run your own life, man.
I agree. I have to agree on that, Doctor. We also have the second question from Fauzia Juso. She said, as the family members, what can we do if our children is stressed about their online study? It is because we, as older generation, don't do online class. I have to agree with this. As I said earlier, our era is different.
Yeah, okay. Let's just go to the basic actually about human being. Okay? That is communication and interacting. Okay? Now we have this problem, so-called problem, that is generation gap.
Yeah,
Okay? Throughout history, parents and their childs are two different generations. That's why parents always have problems with their kids. They don't know how to deliver to their kids, and the kids don't know how to actually listen to their parents. There was one saying by, if I'm not mistaken, by Umar Khattab, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, treat your kids. Uh, if I could translate it in Malay first, probably you can assist me. Didiklah anak kamu sebagaimana zamannya, bukannya seperti zaman kamu. Means that treat or educate your kids in their era, not by using your era. Okay, parents, I believe modern parenting, they are more open. But then parents must be able to tolerate,
yeah,
because as I told earlier that in this kind of pandemic, uh, the it hits everyone. Everyone have to adapt. Everyone have to adjust to this kind of situation. Now, in understanding, kids they have to understand their parents. Parents, because kids do have problems actually in questioning why do you have to work from home, and even the parent will say, why do you have to go for online, even though they know the situation. Okay. Now, this is where I keep on telling people, knowing and doing. It's not like you don't know the situation, but not you're not doing it. Okay. Now, a bit of situation that we have these days, right? For parents out there, teachers are giving a lot of work to their kids. You know, the same things goes to us. The problem is when we don't understand people, when we don't understand our family members, we have our own rules. Even though during this pandemic, everyone live under the same roof, but in different times. Let's say for example, now let's say during the online class, you are not a son, you are a student. But to come to that understanding by your parents is not easy. You know, it make it difficult when you don't actually inform or when you don't actually interact with your parents, saying that this is my new way, so called adapting to these situations of online classes. I do have problems too. Now this is where understandings come in. So knowing and doing, I just know things, but do I do something? Let's say, for example, your parents know you don't have laptops, for example, and your parents know that you need laptops or gadgets for the online classes. Okay? And then your parents, due to this situation, your parents bought you a laptop. Mean that they know and they understand. Further, or what do you call that? Beyond that, they don't know. So the beyond things is your responsibility to inform them. Why? Because recently there was some empirical study saying that due to online classes, due to online classes and work from homes had caused people to be individualistic, and had caused people to be isolating themselves from their family members. They are not interacting. Even during lunch, they are not eating together. Even dinner, they are not eating together. They are not having it together. Okay. So basic things is, do you actually interact among parents and kids, kids to parents? Okay. And generation gap is need to be, it need to be apa kata di man, sometimes I lost words. It need to be not actually close lah. It actually need to be rapatkan. What you call that? Rapatkan?
I'm not entirely sure, doctor, but yeah,
Okay, so
there's an English word for that.
okay, you need to close the gaps actually, but obviously it is impossible. The problem with generation gaps do really happen. You know, so compromising. So means that if we are only talks about stress in order to compromise in this kind of situation, there are a lot of things that we need to compromise. You know, but either stress is the cause or either stress is the effect of the situation.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to inform for the viewers, we're now currently on the live Q&A session. So if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comment section. Then I will read down your questions. In the meantime, from this previous question, I actually want to say uh, I'm I'm seeing things eye on you. Like I'm glad that my parents are both an understanding parent. Although at first they weren't really being supportive of me to go study in UTM, but then in the end they approve of my own choice, and I'm glad. Then for now, I have not been back in Sabah for like 1 year now, but whenever like I have some sort of pressure under me, what I will always do, I wouldn't say I will contact them straight away. What I did, I will always check on their picture. That's some sort of motivation for me. But to some people, I understand. I have few friends that feel like themselves they were in a position where their environment is not good, like their environment is not in a suitable condition for them like to study because they feel they have toxic families. And
Mm.
just like you said earlier, we need to create our be our own support system first. But to me, these people sometimes they have the tendency to not reach out, which we cannot blame these people because sometimes eventually these people are who are not reaching up at the end of the day will lead them at maybe first stress, but this stress will eventually lead them to anxiety or maybe even more to depression.
Stress. Yeah, depression. Yeah. Yeah, nevertheless, it's true. I really agree. We can't expect all the parents to understand about this situation. Like, just imagine that um, whereby we have, couple of probably five or six siblings, and then everyone is going through for the online class. Obviously, parents are having problems actually, in providing the gadgets, you know,
Yeah,
and this may cause something a new problem. We do have these kind of situations by students. The way we see it is actually by we can't actually now. I'm trying to put this in words in simpler words.
okay.
Um, there are situations whereby the students claims that their parents are not providing the atmosphere for them. Okay, for the conducive atmosphere, even though they know. Okay, um, but in blaming totally the situations or the capability in providing the conducive environment for the online class, we have to understand that there are some restrictions that it's not simply says that and understand, because it's hard to being so empathic for those who are actually going through that situation.
Yeah,
Okay, but I do agree when you were saying just now that they are not talking, they are not, they just keep this thing in them. Okay, and this what makes it difficult. I remember this one girl from University of Malaysia Sabah that actually went out to find a better coverage for final
oh, the
exam.
Viviana girl.
Viviana.
Mm.
Okay, if the parents can't provide, the situation, but the parents are actually giving support by, if you see, the parents provide her with foods, some what call that some what call that understanding by letting her go, to find a place, you know so these are the things. But if you are not communicating, if you are not interacting, or if you are not telling your parents whether you get or not, that will be a second question. Whether the parents are supporting you or not, that will be second question. But does it, did you start by informing them, or do you start by discussing with them about your needs? You know, and there's
Yeah,
one case. In one case, I remember she don't actually tell her parents about the needs because she don't want her parents to be burdened by this situation. Now, always look from this perspective. As a child, and sorry, as a parent, they only want the best for their kids. As long as they can provide it for their kids, you know, if they have to go through the hardships to provide better education for their kids, they're gonna do it. But as for their children, you know, I know that some out there they actually quit their study just to cater, or just to help their parents in dealing with this hardship. But that doesn't help, you know. So that's why in this kind of situations, especially classes, regardless whether you are primary level, secondary level, or tertiary levels, you know, the task is clear, the responsibility is clear. The child responsibility is to go for education. Okay, the parents' responsibility is to provide the education. If any one of these doesn't go, if any one of these does not compromise each other,
Yeah,
there
it's a
won't be
two-way
any
thing.
education. It won't be an education. The same goes in class. The lecturers are providing, are feeding you guys with the subject. And your task is actually receiver. Education won't be happening if only one way, uh, in a one way situation that you were saying. You know, I know during the first semesters that students went through for the online classes, you know, they just be online and they are not there, and the lecturers are keep on giving classes, you know, where they knew that the students are not there. I'm picking up my wife's experience.
Okay.
It happens when she called the students, they're not there even when the class ends, when everyone left and the students are still there. And even there are times when the students at home, when the parents are not compromised with them, they were asked to do some housework. These are what makes things, difficult. And these what are some of the contributors to their stress level. You know. So again, if those parents out there who are listening these sessions, you know, compromise, tolerate, because your son, your children can't be in education if these two or your support as parents are not there. You don't have to understand actually. Most of us think that in order for us to support others, we need to understand. No, because we don't have the ability and capability to understand most of the time. But we actually, can be empathic enough in this kind of situations. The same goes to students among students. Providing supports to your colleagues. Let's say, for example, you know one of your colleagues, your classmates, are having problem with gadgets, having problems with data. You know, you earlier semester interact among you guys. Any of you guys are having problem. We can probably provide you guys like giving a text message. You know, and
Yeah.
actually inform the lecturers, sir, doctor, prof, one of our colleagues are having problem with this. Is there any mechanism? Is there any way that we can assist them? Her, he. It's not about being individualistic in this time. That's why we have hashtag kita jaga kita. The hashtag kita jaga kita, for me, I've been giving a couple of sessions. Though when we really look into this tagline, hashtag kita jaga kita, it really means a lot. Okay?
We have another one. With online class, it's hard calling the lecturer's attention back to sometime due to time constraint. I agree on this, and volume of students in class and specific students who hug the lecturer's attention. Oh, wait.
Okay. Love this one. Now, online class is just like a physical class. Do you think that you only have time with your lecturers during the class hours? Don't the lecturers provide you guys with consultation hours?
Yeah, they do provide.
So you see, at this era, at this technological era, classes some lecturers, they provide the offline classes. They provide the materials either through some groups in your chat applications. You can even call them. You don't expect online classes to be online per se, or physical class to be only during the class per se. No, the lecturers will provide the consultation hours, and even at any time you just can simply text them. The advantage of having online classes is actually things are kept in offline. A great advantage. Not during my time. So there are so many means of communicating with your lecturers. Why would you only focus or restrain yourself during the class? It's not about getting the lecturer's attention, okay? But it's how you have some initiative, either proactive initiative. If you're really into education, by any means, you find ways. So this is what I'm saying. Regardless it's a physical class or online class, the things are still the same. It's just that the mediums are actually changed.
Agree, Doctor.
Okay, so how we adapt into this kind of situation? One of who suffers most, yeah.
Oh, we have another question from Arifin Gafar. So, in my opinion, the one who suffers the most stress are those who living in flooded area, battling with current pandemic situation and having a low connection of internet to continue virtual learning.
Yes, I agree. Now, my wife did discuss with me about this situation because she do have some students are having problem who are going in attending final exam, in submitting assignments. Now you see, lecturers need to be informed. I know recently there was a viral about a lecturer who are really, I'm not sure whether you realize about this thing.
It was
Lecturers who are
it was
actually,
on the Twitter thread.
yeah, and the
I
lecturers
saw it.
actually force the students to submit. Now that I'm not saying that all lecturers are like that. These are going back to the personality of the lecturers, the attitude of the lecturers. Okay, it is unfair to generalize all the lecturers are like that. Even the
Correct.
university, even the faculty have their own way in dealing with this kind of situations. We are aware that some students are having difficulties, you know, like flooded area. Currently, we have this apa orang kata di Pantai Timur, flooded are there, and we are sympathetic with this kind of situation that hits them, the pandemic, the low connectivities, you know. But then, like I say, it's not like we are in this thing together.
All right. This is like a slightly provoking question. This was in the chat box way earlier, but this just pop up.
Okay.
This one, it's about the uh, I would say ranting. So Rohima Zakaria said, sometimes laptop hang, sometimes line problem. Tapi lecturer tak faham. Environment nak study kat rumah pun buat stress. So what do we need to do? To quit study can, not only me, ramai students hadapi situation macam ni. Just like you said, my take on this would be to not do the generalization on the lecturers as one thing lah, because it sometimes depends on the lecturer's personality.
Yeah, attitude. Now, it's easier to quit actually. Okay, it's easier to quit. But remember, years, I've seen students who actually quit. I've seen students who defer. What I can say is, quit is one way. Quit is an option, but that is not a decision. If you decide that quitting is a decision, if you decide to quit, by all means, but then that doesn't help you in the long run. If you see that if a person actually quits at one point, they have the tendency to repeat the same decisions they made, okay, again in their later life. I'm not saying that you can't quit, no. Always remember, quitting is an option, but that is not a decision. Because if you, I repeat again, I emphasize on this matter, if you quit at one point in your life, you have the tendency to repeat the same decisions in later life when you can't bear with the situation, when you can't deal with the situation. Okay, so respecting one's decisions, yes, okay, but this is human. We have this
Okay,
brain, okay, we have this brain, decide something not based on the short term, apa nama, short terms, yeah, but look at the long run, you know.
Actually, Doctor, we have some few more many questions in queue. So if
Mm,
it's possible,
okay,
Doctor, can Doctor just scan the questions like right quick,
yeah,
then
okay.
just answer it
I,
shorter
I think
because
I think
we're
most
almost
of
running
the,
out of time.
most of the questions are in regards to lecturers. I don't understand blah 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 things, in which we have explained later, earlier.
Yeah, we have
Okay,
explained earlier.
the generation gap. One thing that students need to understand. Another thing is where they can actually complain about this thing. If you just sit there and not doing anything, I mean, just you're whining away. It's like the lecturers don't understand me, blah blah thing. But you're not doing anything. It's just like this the questions that I raised just now. Knowing and doing. You know the situations, but you're not doing anything. Now they obviously the faculty have some what call that some have provide you with some rooms or channels, you know, to raise this issue. Doing some complaint, for example, reporting about something, you know. Do you actually use this what call it? Do you actually use this channel? Let's say, for example, if the lecturers are actually pushing you to the extent in which it is uncompromising about the situations, you can actually inform the faculties through your TDA, di mana Dekan Academic and Deputy Dean of Academics, you know. But again, if you're just sitting there and not telling the authority about this thing, things won't solve. Even though you know that you can actually launch a report about this thing, you know. So take effort. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to be viewed as one-sided. I'm not representing either lecturers or students. Okay, like we've discussed earlier, that both are having facing the same situations right now. So it's unfair for me to say that only students are facing this problem. And at the same time, it's unfair for me to say that lecturers are facing this problem more than what students are facing. No,
All
both
right.
of group need to work together. Okay, whether it is online class or offline class, the interactions, the relationship, students lecturers relationships need to be strengthened. My group mate are not happy with the assignments, and lecturer apparently saying that it was my fault for not having communication with them, and I keep asking them. Okay, recently my wife do ask me about my view about this thing. Okay, before you can actually say that your friends are not, in a simple word, a sleeping partners. Okay, learn about this thing in life, in the future. When you want to report about something, make sure you put everything documented. Okay, so do it rationally, not emotionally. I can simply say that she probably doing it emotionally, but if you do have something documented or at least an evidence to support, if I were to be your lecturers, I will be giving your group mate 0. Okay, and I will have my own way in giving some assessment to them to evaluate them whether they know or not about the topics, because this this is not something new. Okay, it's been happening generations to generations, over and over again. Students will
Agree.
always be students. Students will
Yeah.
always be students. It's just like cheating in exam. Don't tell me that you never cheat in exam. I'll cheat in exam too. You know, I'm not perfect, but showing people that you are too perfect about something, I think that is not the way of going through life. There's always be a flaws. So in these kind of situations, get everything in the form of evidence. Now we're talking about stress here because somehow the stressor is caused by your group mate. You have an option before it hits you hard. You can actually stop where it all started. You know, if you have been
Yes, of
given
course.
chance to choose your own group mates, choose wisely. Okay, perhaps that is your friend, but he is not the one that you would like to work with. Okay, probably this is your enemy, so-called enemy, but when it comes to work, he's the right person to deal with. So if you've been given a chance to choose a group mate, choose wisely, not on the basis of, oh, because you my friend, okay, or because you
I
can
would
sponsor,
agree with that.
because you can
Yeah.
sponsor for the assignments, for the binding, for the blah blah blah. Okay, come be my knee, and then never mind, I do all everything. No, because you are. That's why I'm saying you can actually sense or scan the stressor before it's really happened. That's what I meant by stress is an option.
Quite agree on that part too. I mean, in terms of group mate, when they start into a group project, I'm more of an active person who's going to coordinate the whole situation. So that it wouldn't be a big problem for me. But as long as,
It
see,
wouldn't be a problem
uh,
for you. Let me
uh,
just tell you what happened. Let me just tell you what happened.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
the situation, yes, it's real, and it be happening like what almost every generation when it comes to students. But you're not helping your friends to learn, even though you say that I don't mind blah blah thing, but you're actually exposing yourself to be manipulated. It's either
Enlighten me,
it's
how is
either
that manipulated?
means that if people knows you that okay, when you say that okay, never mind, I can do this thing, I'm capable of doing this thing, you are actually expose yourself to be manipulated, and everybody want to be your teammate, everybody want to be your group mate, because they know that you can do most of the tasks. That would be something good, but you are not actually educate them to do things right.
Okay.
Okay, and this what happens. That's what I was saying, that okay, you know that these persons are capable to so-called finance the project, you know, and he only sees himself as, oh, I'm just sponsoring the assignments, but I don't want to do the assignment. Now you see, this what makes the students, they don't actually learn things. Assignments are made for a student to learn and to educate themselves, to do works. But if you are portraying this kind of attitudes in doing assignments, you're actually expose yourself to be manipulated, in which everybody want to be in your group later on next semester. At the end of the day, it causes you stress. Why? Because so many, let's say for example, you need to choose 4 per group,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden 10 of them comes to you. Okay, and then all these 10 are your friends. You akan jadi stress because you need to choose only another 3. And then at this situation, you nak kena jaga hati, you have to take care, cater their, kind of thing. This is what I meant by you are not, you see. But if you really meant business to them, ah, you're helping yourself and you're helping them to be a better student, to be an excellent student.
To me, it's most probably because some of us, I mean, sometimes including me, when task is assigned to me, we have this narrative of just to do it for the sake of completing the job. So that's probably the underlying problem that's experienced by students, especially during this online learning. The amount of assignments and workloads given by the lecturers is about the same compared to the face-to-face learning. And
Yes.
uh, I don't think we have to blame either party, but then, uh, as you said earlier, someone who's being like manipulated, to me, the way I see it, as long as I can put it in a way that they can remain professional to complete their job, because I'm a bit nosy when it comes to people just giving the bare minimum to complete their job. I will ask them to redo this and that. So uh, yeah, I'm someone who acts like that. And maybe yeah, it drives me uh, to get stressed, but hopefully in a more of a positive direction. It's
Yeah,
how
you
we
learn so many
interpret the situation. Yeah.
Yes, you learn so many things actually, because you learn how to deal things, how to work, how to distribute kind of thing. Yes, it's good for you. But remember, I told you just now that you don't actually teach or educate your friends to do things well. Now, just imagine when it says that you've been given a lot of assignments by lecturers, kind of thing. Just imagine when you work. Probably a task being given to you, the due date is at the end of the week. You need to present it to your clients or your customers. That's why I was
Okay.
saying that university is a training ground for a student. Okay, let's say for example, student from the architecture, you know, since students they are adapting themselves into the studio's life because they know if they become an architect, they need to be in the studios until late night. I mean, like until early in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so this kind of scenarios, you know, would replicate itself when you work, especially when you work in your area, in your field. If you're an engineer, if you're a chemical engineer, for example, and you're working in G, for example, and gas, expect all these things. So that's why I'm saying that, that you are actually, that the university is preparing you, with all lot of assignments, tasks, and different kind of assessments. Because one day when you work, regardless whether you work on your own or you work with companies, multinational companies, if you learn or if you train yourself to to be resilient about these things, one day you become best workers. You know.
Yeah.
So now, when you're saying that your attitude in doing assignments a bit, you know, uh, um, you
Self-oriented.
become, yeah, self-oriented. Probably one day when you become a leader, a boss, for example, or a manager, you will bring this kind of leadership style.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why for those students who are actually involved in societies, that's why we always encourage students to be involved in societies. You know how
Yeah.
to deal with this kind of situation, the psychological situation.
Correct.
You know, developing your own personality.
True.
So let us not be far from our topic today when we talk about
Yeah.
stress. So this is how, because replicating the life of a student to your life in the future, in your career, helps you a lot. Let's say, for example, how to deal with your lecturers. One day, when you work, it's not about lecturers, it's about your boss. Just assume that your lecturers now is your future boss. You know?
Yeah.
So create that resilience in our students is a crucial for us, to have our graduates really well prepared for their job markets, for the markets in the future, in your career. That's why UTM always have the best graduates, because the way, now you will be suffering, but one day you look back, thank God my lecturer gave me a lot of assignments. Thank God my lecturers was like that, because I have a boss in which, uh, resemble them. It reminds me about my lecturers. This is how I tackle my
Uh,
lecturers back then. So thank God, this kind of thing. When you look back, wow, thank you UTM, Sanjungan Bangsa.
maybe we have reached some sort of mutual agreement on how you pointed out those things earlier. And yeah, I do agree. Like to me, what I see when going to the university, maybe at first I focused too much on my academic achievement, but at the end of the day, uh, the main purpose is like to prepare us as students to be in the work life later on, because in the work life we cannot actually choose who we are working with in the, maybe in the
Yes,
corporate
it's
world,
true.
maybe in the oil and gas sector, we cannot pick whoever we're working with. And
Even
apparently
even your
we have,
teammate,
yeah,
even you can't choose your teammate. That's
yeah,
okay. Sorry about that.
uh, we have reached our end of, to me, it was a very fruitful discussion with Dr. Zul. So thank you, Doctor, for the great sharing session. So few of the essential points that I have highlighted are the philosophy of stress, the part that we mentioned was about use stress, the constructive stress, and we also mentioned about the support system along with the coping mechanism, about how a better approach for us to revive our stress, approach to us to have a better way to cope, along with our self development, uh, despite this pandemic, with these online classes and many more. So we have reached the closing session of our event. I would like to thank Dr. Zul for the sharing session just now. So before
I
we
do.
end the session, Doctor, do you have anything in mind you'd like to say?
Yeah. All I can say is, for students, out there, you'll be going for your final exam. I know it's due to a lot of constraints right now. You know, as long as you are a student, regardless of any medium, stress, I can't say it's a must, but stress will really teach you a lot of things in life. If you manage to go through stress, if you manage to compromise with stress, if you can tolerate with stress, if you can cope with stress, and even if you can adapt to stress, life will become easier actually. you know because why? It's not about struggling, but accepting. When you struggle, you feel the pain, but if you learn to tolerate, if you learn to accept stress, one day you're going to find stress as your friend. As a matter of fact, it will be your best friends, because you know that stress that actually push you to be a better person. I think that's about for me. Okay, Nazrul, I really enjoyed myself tonight. You know, you
Thank you, Doctor. To me, it was a very interesting discussion to see some sort of narrative between a lecturer and student.
yeah, we
So
hit
yeah,
about 500 just now. I saw that we hit
wow,
about 500 viewers. That's
that's
quite a big
that's
numbers.
pretty high.
Congratulations, guys.
Uh, thank you,
Congratulations.
Doctor. So the session has now ended. So to the viewers, please don't forget to fill up the attendance form and scan the QR code for merit purposes before you guys leave the session.
I got one thing, last thing. Sorry.
Yeah, Doctor.
For everyone, during this pandemic, during this MCO 2.0, we still counseling centers are still doing the online psychological support services. You can find us in our social media, counseling centers, UTM, Pusat Counseling UTM, for both KL and Johor. You know, um, just drop by if you need our assistance. and we come up to you ASAP. Always remember hashtag kita jaga kita. Everyone in this. Thank you so much again for the UNESCO UTM Club for inviting me, and best you guys all the best. Bitaufiq wa najah insyaallah. And with that aku qali hadza fastaghfirullahaladzim wa lakum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Salam. Thank you, Doctor.